Beginning of July 2025. Together with Tina and Sławek, we arrive in the evening at Bergamo Airport in northern Italy, flying in from Bristol. For several months, we had been planning a trip to the Dolomites with a group of 5 people. Ha and Dindin, who will come from Germany, will join us on the 3rd day. Considering our original plan to hike the first Alta Via and sleep in mountain huts along the route, which ultimately turned out to be impossible to coordinate due to availability and scheduling, plus the fact that people were arriving and leaving on different days. Tina's Excel-based planning and successfully organizing a few intense days for the whole crew turned out to be quite an accomplishment. The first night, straight from the airport, we stayed at a guest house in Bergamo, where we were immediately hit by the sweltering heat of over 30 degrees Celsius. The next morning, as we left the house early, the area looked more rainy and stormy. Driving toward the Dolomites, specifically the town of Paganella, where we hoped to do at least our first Via Ferrata in the afternoon, we watched the sky, which gave us little hope for anything other than sitting in the car. Upon arrival, where the place was swarming with mountain bikers, it was almost as if on cue that the rain began to fade, and after checking the weather forecast, there was a chance for some clearings. After looking at the map and seeing that it was around 1 p.m., we bought one-way tickets for both cable cars to the summit, as there was no way we'd have time to hike up if we wanted to do the Via Ferrata before dark.
Wait, what does America have to do with it?
That's not good, Tina. That's not good.
Yeah, it's chance for...
Cause it's black, yes black, oh the water. If I had a boat, I would sail out, take every brother and sister of mine. We'd roll in the sunshine and sleep when it's dark, hoping to find somewhere we can call home.
After switching to the second lift, it quickly became clear that the weather at the top would be nearly perfect, and the heat we experienced before entering the Dolomites had turned into a pleasant 20 degrees Celsius. There wasn't a single person we passed on the lifts, no tourists at all. At the summit, we maybe saw 2 small groups on mountain bikes, and that was it. From the top station, it was about a 30 to 40 minute walk to the start of the Ferrata, so by around 3 p.m. we were already putting on our harnesses. Sławek, who had done the Aguile Ferrata solo a few years ago in more wintry conditions, had a good idea of what to expect and how long it might take. Tina and I were complete newbies when it came to ferratas in practice, so there was no better plan than jumping straight into a mid-level route, graded C/D. The closer we got to the mountains, the more Sławek was bursting with endorphins, entertaining us with dances and songs. The beginning of the Ferrata is quite easy, and someone used to mountain trails has probably walked similar paths without any safety gear. The more interesting part starts after passing through a cave that's right on the route. From that point on, every photo and drone shot simply had to look amazing, especially in such weather.
So I think for resting should be right, yeah? Just for resting.
Cause it's black, yes black, oh the water's black. Cause it's black, it's all black, black water, oh black water. Cause it's black, yes black, oh the water's black.
Oh, that's the grota, huh? How far you walk? Or?
The right. The right. My right. Your right. Yeah. No, other way. Other right. Nice. Good. Go. Your turn.
Well,
They counted you out, but you're still here. One more breath, one more round. You come too far to back down now. Dig deep, stand tall, no fear, no mercy. This is the grind, this is the moment. Show 'em what you made of.
Adrenaline will be fine.
ah, that's small bridge, and there is bigger one, yeah?
Yeah, it says
Quite
small
good.
one, bigger one, and you see the thing?
Go up, yeah?
No. You...
Oh, okay.
They counted you out, but you're still here. One more breath, one more round. You come too far to back down now. Dig deep, stand tall, no fear, no mercy. This is the grind, this is the moment. Show 'em what you made of.
The first part of Aguile with its views really blew our minds.
Oh, nice.
Considering that just 4 hours earlier we were driving through a total downpour, catching this weather window felt really uplifting. Of course, for mountain enthusiasts and people who love these kinds of views, where you have to put in some effort to get them, the place is absolutely worth recommending. From a charming little bench on the cliff, we had to cross another short bridge and then climb 2 wobbly spiral ladders, which led us up to the last vertical wall. Above it was the end of the Via Ferrata.
That's it. O, jest i słońce. Czyli jeszcze o zachodzie. Jest i ławeczka. O, Tina już tu ostatni ten robi. Nie, już nie robi, już tu. Teraz za mną. Przeszła przez most.
No widzisz, to dokładnie ta ferata to jest dokąd.
No.
My mieliśmy tam stamtąd.
No tak, chyba ja pamiętam tej wieży ciągle, to był mój punkt orientacyjny.
Fajna, nie? Bardzo miło.
After packing up our harnesses in the glow of the setting sun, we started heading down the trail, leading us back toward the parking lot where we had left the car. By that time it was around 7 p.m., and we still had about 2.5 hours to go, so we walked the last stretch through the forest after dark. We got down to the parking lot around 9 p.m., tired but happy and filled with endorphins for the days ahead. From the ladders on, the first blisters had started to appear on our hands. After packing ourselves into the car, we headed toward Trento, near which we had booked a place to stay for the night. Since it was already quite late and there was no chance of finding a shop in the small nearby towns, we decided to stop at a pizzeria along the way. Each of us ordered a large pizza so that whatever was left could be packed up for the next day. The following day, Sunday, we had a reservation at Refugio Re Alberto in the Santner mountain massif. On Sundays there was no chance of finding an open grocery store in the morning, and since the plan, considering the weather, was to start very early, the alarm was set for 4:30 a.m. with the goal of hitting the trail from the Carezza parking lot by 6, so a few slices of pizza seemed like the perfect breakfast for the first part of the hike. The only problem was that the pizzeria in Mezzo Lombardo takes the word grande quite literally, even by Italian standards. After a long struggle, I managed to eat only half, while poor Tina got through just a quarter. The rest we somehow had to wrap up and squeeze into our backpacks. The next morning, already repacked into larger backpacks that we would need for 2 days and the overnight stay in the hut, we set off around 5 a.m. in the direction of Carezza. The plan was to leave the car in a free parking lot until the next day and head up into the mountains on foot. On the way, in Bolzano, we managed to find an open cafe and grabbed a morning cappuccino and a croissant. The idea was to start early that day because of the possibility of thunderstorms and rain around midday, so we kept checking the weather forecast along the way.
And the walls kept tumbling down in the city that we love. Great clouds roll over the hills, bringing darkness from above. But if you close your eyes, does it almost feel like nothing changed at all? And if you close your eyes, does it almost feel like you've been here before? How am I gonna be an optimist about this? How am I gonna be an optimist about this? In your pose as the dust settled around us, and the walls kept tumbling down in the city that we love. Great clouds roll over the hills, bringing darkness from above. But if you close your eyes, does it almost feel like nothing changed at all? And if you close your eyes, does it almost feel like you've been here before? How am I gonna be an optimist about this? How am I gonna be an optimist about this if you close your eyes?
After completing the first part of today's route, leading from the parking lot to the Paolina hut, we took a short break and, as it turned out, had an unplanned breakfast with apple pie in the background, since the kitchen was already open. On the way, we passed only a couple of Italians who had also decided to experience the sunrise in this area early in the morning. Continuing along the western wall, we headed toward the Kölner Hütte, near which we expected to find another Via Ferrata. This one should take us up to 2,734 meters, where the Santerpass Hütte is located, a place from which, the following morning, I would have the chance to record one of my best shots so far. From the Santerpass Hütte, only a short distance of a few hundred meters remains to the Refugio Re Alberto, where we will be staying overnight.
We gotta have a
spray in the film.
Jack Viral.
Oh yeah, it's like separating. Banking? Oh. Oh, there.
The closer we got to the Kölner Hütte hut, the more people appeared on the trail, including many youth groups. The landscape was also slowly transforming, from green and lush, full of alpine flowers, into a harsher one surrounded by white dolomite. After a short break at the hut, we continued towards the Via Ferrata. At first, we misinterpreted the trail and the other people heading in the same direction, so we started putting on our harnesses right behind the Kölner Hütte. However, what followed was just a small climb secured with ropes, not the actual ferrata yet. The real one was still about 1.5 kilometers away. The Santner ferrata, which we were now heading towards, was not as exposed as the Agile the day before. It offered more scrambling over rocks and squeezing through narrow gaps. The last section was a typical climbing wall, but not particularly difficult, especially considering you always had the rope available if there was no other handhold. From the west, clouds slowly began to appear in the distance, and we kept tracking them and checking the forecast, trying to predict whether we would avoid rain, and more importantly, a thunderstorm.
Huh? Yeah. Oh, you should get here. Up here.
morning, gentlemen.
Nice and warm here.
Good fucking timing. I am so happy that we made it. Right before starting.
At exactly noon, we reached the Santner Pass hut. The timing was almost perfect, as the rain started falling during the last flat 100 meters. However, this was not our final hut for the day, since Refugio Re Alberto was still 700 meters away. Luckily, the trail leading there was just a simple path downhill, so we could have reached it even in the rain if necessary. Since it was still early, we decided to have something to eat, rest, and warm up here, as we could only check in at Alberto after 3 p.m. anyway. The view for lunch at this spot could easily outshine many resorts, and the kitchen served dishes of restaurant quality. Unfortunately, there wasn't much for us to admire, as the area was covered by clouds. Only from time to time, through brief openings in the fog, could we glimpse a steep cliff next to the hut, behind which the view might have stretched all the way to the horizon. But for that, I had to wait until the next morning. Unfortunately, from this moment on, my GoPro started malfunctioning, and the rest of the footage turned out more limited. And even the clips I managed to edit later were not all the ones I was able to recover from the card after returning home.
Oh, napkins say 15.
I know! Lies! Napkin is...
We've done 5 already.
We left Santner Pass at 2 p.m. with visibility still quite poor, but at least without rain.
No, I didn't see anything.
It should be turned right. This way. And down. Yeah, a little bit below this.
After a short walk, the hut emerged from the fog, along with small glimpses of the valley below.
Yeah, I saw it on the map. There's Ellie.
Wait, stay there, stay there.
Inside, the hut was clean and cozy, with all the toilets freshly renovated, which also meant warm water. Oh, thank you. Showers operated with tokens that could be purchased in the kitchen. Once we had settled in and I had recharged some of my filming gear, we went outside to admire the surroundings, which were slowly revealing themselves, though in return it also started to drizzle. Back inside, we had dinner with everyone staying the night, followed by breakfast the next morning.
Clouds roll over the hills, bringing darkness from above. But if you close your eyes, does it almost feel like nothing changed at all? And if you close your eyes, does it almost feel like you've been here before? How I'm again How am I gonna be an optimist about this? But if you close your eyes, does it almost feel like nothing changed at all? And if you close your eyes, does it almost feel like you've been here before? How am I gonna be an optimist about this? How am I gonna be an optimist about this if you close your eyes? Oh, 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 How am I gonna be an optimist about this? How am I gonna be an optimist about this? Oh, oh, oh.
That morning will stay in my memory for a very long time. The weather that greeted us after waking up only heightened the emotions brought on by the breathtaking views we could admire. We also knew that another dose of beautiful Dolomites awaited us, as right after breakfast we were setting off on our journey back to the parking lot where the car was waiting. To avoid repeating yesterday's route from the Rey Alberto hut, we headed east down a steep path that led us past two huts, Vacholet and Pros. From there we turned south towards the town of Vigo di Fassa, where we could catch a bus going in the direction of Carezza, stopping right next to the parking lot. The bus fare was €2, and if you're carrying a big backpack, remember to put it in the luggage compartment before boarding. Otherwise, the Italian driver will remind you.
Go on. Come out.
After 6.5 kilometers of hiking on the final stretch through the forest, Vigo di Fassa appeared before us. Buses passed there once an hour, always at the 45th minute. Knowing how much distance we still had to cover, it was possible we would arrive just in time, or miss it by a few minutes and have to wait for the next one. With our luck, even though we reached the bus stop late, the bus was also delayed, so it pulled in at the exact same moment we arrived there straight from the trail.
Take every brother and sister of mine. We roll in the sun.
That day we were also supposed to pick up the rest of our team, Ha and Dindin, who were arriving by bus to Cortina. So after reaching the car, an 80-kilometer drive to Cortina d'Ampezzo awaited us, along winding mountain roads where we could continue soaking in the views and the lively towns, full of cyclists, walkers and people enjoying outdoor activities.
If I had some time, I'd be by
With our team reinforced by 2 more members, we went for a shared dinner and then in full strength continued to the town of Alleghe, near which we had a house for the whole crew for the next 3 days, in the shadow of the mighty Monte Civetta.
violet flowers. If I get there faster than you, I'll pick you violet flowers. If I get there faster than you, 'cause it's mad, yeah, it's mad.
Start.
Rather walk on the dirt or walk on the sidewalk?
The next day, from our base in Alleghe, we headed again to Cortina. As you can see, the rain finally caught up with us. The day before we had prepared for such weather, expecting it to last for most of the morning. But in the end, once we had passed through the town itself and stepped onto the trail, the rain stopped. The plan for the day also included at least 2 scenarios, depending on the later weather conditions and how long it would take us to complete the Ski Club 18 Ferrata. The Ferrata wall was already visible from Cortina, followed by a stretch through the forest and then a steep approach leading up to the first anchors. At the top of the Ferrata, we were to check the time and decide whether to continue along the northern face of the La Cesta Massif, circling it until we reached the blue Lago del Sorapis, or to shorten the route by turning directly towards the main road, where we could catch a return bus to Cortina. This is what the face of the wall leading up the Ferrata looks like. For most of the time, it is a vertical climb, often on a completely exposed wall with significant exposure, sometimes with overhangs that you need to pull yourself up from below. The average rating is D. Moving at a relaxed pace, with plenty of stops for photos and views, it took us 4.5 hours to reach the top of the Ferrata. As you can see, once again we managed to hit the demanding section of the route in just the right weather window. After packing up our gear, we analyzed our position and time. Lago del Sorapis would, unfortunately, have to wait for another occasion. From there, we followed the ridge of La Cesta until at some point we turned off towards the main road in the valley. Our streak of good weather was also slowly coming to an end, with clouds appearing and occasional light drizzle passing through. By the end of the descent to the main road, the rain had caught up with us. Luckily, the bus stop was right next to the Passo Tre Croci Cortina Hotel, where many people were already taking shelter either under the eaves outside or inside the building. We had to wait a good half hour for the bus, and when it finally arrived, we were all packed in like sardines. The ride along the winding mountain roads, literally wedged between other passengers, turned out to be quite amusing. After about 20 minutes, we were back in the center of Cortina, where we went for dinner and then drove back to our base in Alleghe. The next day we were planning an ascent of Monte Civeta, in whose shadow we had our lodging. On the fifth day, which was also my last, we planned an ascent towards Monte Civeta, where we suspected the conditions at the summit might be more demanding than on the previous days. Along the way, from hikers coming down or at the hut, we wanted to find out what the route to the summit looked like, or at least to the second hut, Maria Vittoria Torani. From the maps, we already knew that a ferrata led there, but if we decided to take it, we would have to go all the way to the top. At 8 a.m., we showed up at the cable car, which saved us the first easy sections through the forest. After reaching the upper cable car station, we headed towards Refugio Adolfo Sonino Alcoldai. From there we followed the trail in the direction of the Ferrata degli Alleghesi. though at that stage we were not yet sure whether we would actually take it up to the summit or just approach its vicinity. If we decided to climb via the ferrata, we would then continue over the summit and descend on the other side to the Torani hut, from which we could go down and loop back to rejoin the trail. At the hut, we received a trail map for the summit of Civetta, which showed that just before the top, from the main ferrata, there was a junction leading left directly to the Torani hut. The map you see here is in exactly the same style as the one we got at the hut, but I couldn't find an updated version online where this junction was already marked. That explained why we hadn't seen it on other maps, and by the end of the day we learned that this trail had only been established 2 years earlier. During the hike, we also discovered that Sławek had forgotten his ferrata gear, so we decided he would accompany us to the start of the ferrata and then descend via the lower path to meet us later either at Torani or somewhere along the way. While Dindin, Ha, Tina and I were tackling the eastern wall of Civetta, Sławek was enjoying peace and quiet down below.
Kompletna cisza i spokój. I to jest holiday.
We started climbing the Ferrata degli Alleghesi at 1 p.m. The length of the entire route, I think, exceeded all of our expectations. Between 4 and 5 p.m., we were still making our way up towards the summit, wondering whether we had missed the shortcut to the Torani hut or if it was still ahead of us. With every meter higher, more patches of snow appeared, and the temperature, I'd estimate, was somewhere between 0 and 5 degrees Celsius. With the last battery in my drone, I decided to fly as high as possible to check how much distance was left to the summit. The view didn't look too promising, considering the late hour. When we finally reached the junction, we breathed a sigh of relief as the signpost indicated 30 minutes to the hut if we turned left at that point. The cable split here towards the summit and towards the hut. Convinced that skipping the summit would give us more time for the descent, we set off in the direction of the hut. After a short while, the shortcut to the hut turned out to be the classic shortcut. The fixed rope was anchored in such a way that the route had gaps in protection, right at the worst spots. Where we had to cross a gully or couloir, there was untouched snow lying on top of loose rocks. One wrong step and a slip on that sloping ground would have meant sliding left into nothing but a sheer drop. After crossing the first of these attractions, carefully testing the ground like a sapper in a minefield, we discovered another one waiting around the corner and then another. At first we thought that since the sign said 30 minutes to the hut and we had already crossed 1, 2, 3 snowy gullies, there was no point in turning back. In the end, we were so focused on every single step that I have no footage or even a single photo from those moments. Altogether, we had to traverse about 10 such sections ranging from 3 to about 15 meters long with no protection. Only after a solid hour, when the hut finally came into view, were we overjoyed and able to breathe again. That feeling of relief in the mountains is something you never forget, nor the decisions you're forced to make along the way.
We keep going.
That day, we made it down after 10 p.m. Luckily, Sławek, who had already returned to our accommodation by car, was able to pick us up from a new point that was closer from the western side of Civetta. For me, it was the last day in the Dolomites. The next day, Sławek drove me to the station in Milan, while he continued his vacation in the Dolomites. Dindin, Ha and Tina stayed on for another 3 days to explore the mountains around Cortina.